Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again and welcome to Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On the fire danger map, still pretty extreme here, south central Alaska, Kenai Peninsula, at least the northern portion, and in an area back here to the west with high fire dangers extending out to the at least the Kuskokwim Mountains, maybe a little beyond, and then northeastward in across the interior in the Copper River Basin. From there, we'll go to the satellite imagery and high pressure out here over the southeast Bering Sea, and that extends in over much of south central Alaska as well as into the Gulf. But some moisture slipping on up brought some showers into the southern southeast coast. Otherwise, not a bad day there, variably cloudy with some areas of sunshine up to the north, but some showers also developing over the northeast Gulf. Some of those getting into the Yakutat area. Kind of on the moderate to heavy side. They picked up 34/100ths of an inch in the last 24 hours. Kind of variably cloudy, partly to mostly cloudy here across the Copper River Basin. Some afternoon showers developing mostly in Canada, but there are a few scattered around, isolated here over the eastern interior. This mass of moisture coming in from the west, really not doing a whole lot, just some very light snow flurries or sprinkles here from St. Lawrence Island up into the northwest coast, and a little bit of that moisture up on the north slope as well as it pushes eastward there, but not a lot in the way of wind going on, except in Cook Inlet, 15 to 30 mile an hour winds this afternoon, blowing right up the inlet there, carrying the smoke right up in the Anchorage area over to Palmer. Talkeetna seeing south winds gusting to 25 miles per hour, but lighter back out here to the west. You can see this frontal boundary bringing the clouds up into the central Aleutians back to the west. The main rain producing area, these clouds are from about Shimia to now approaching the Adak area. Most of this is just rain-free clouds, except there are some areas of drizzle, mostly back to the northwest here where there's even some rain, but not a bad day over the Pribilost. There's some partial clearing as well. Skies breaking out a little bit there, and again high pressure covering much of Bristol Bay, but there is an extensive area of low clouds again along the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, and whatever was out there in the morning burned off, say around the Dillingham area, but may reform tonight. And also what's not shown here is the low clouds and fog that were socked in on the east side of Kodiak right up into the southern Kenai Peninsula areas and up along the North Gulf Coast. And again, that will probably redevelop this evening as well and become a little more extensive, and then finally get pushed off to the east probably tomorrow afternoon here, at least from Kodiak and into the Gulf of Alaska. On the chart today, here's a system down here, spreads enough moisture in to kick some pretty good showers off at Klawock and Craig in those areas, but not too bad, as I mentioned, up to the north, some showers at Yakutat, the low clouds and fog here out over areas of the Gulf of Alaska, and then the smoke kind of riding northeastward on those southwesterlies from the fire here over the Kenai Peninsula up into the northeast, and some showers breaking out around this weak low up over the Fort Yukon Valley area, and weak high pressure on the Arctic coast making for light winds in that area, but this moisture sliding eastward, westerly flow aloft, kind of a trough right out through here. Again, precipitation amounts are quite light with that, and we'll see tonight's forecast that takes off to the east. And so there's a chance of some shower conditions here over the White Mountains of the Tanana Valley, maybe the Alaska Range, just a risk of an isolated shower or two, especially this evening here over the Copper River Basin, and some leftover moisture there along the North Gulf Coast, mostly in over the Coast Range. Otherwise, not a lot of change here over south central Alaska, Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, except the winds will begin to become less brisk as we roll through the evening and dropping down to more of a 5 to 15 mile per hour breeze here, but not ending completely out in this area. A lot of moisture in the form of low clouds and fog developing here, especially up over the Bering Sea, with some drizzle back on toward Nunivak Island. This ridge axis at the surface now right up along the coastline, so that should allow quite a bit of lower clouds to push inland for marginal VFR conditions, possibly as far east as the Kuskokwim Mountains by tomorrow morning, and then that'll burn back in the afternoon. Areas of light snow concentrated over the eastern Arctic coast here as this pushes eastward, and some areas of flurries or even light snow showers, but again, negligible amounts accumulating. Scattered to isolated rain and snow showers here to the south of the Bering Strait to about St. Lawrence Island, with a lot of clouds, just about solid clouds all the way down to this frontal boundary there. That should bring some rainfall as far east as Atka and keep it kind of damp and showery back toward the west around Shimia. For tomorrow, we've got this frontal system now just trailing into the Alaska Range, so look for some variable cloudy skies to move across the Susitna Valley with a risk of some showers up toward the Alaska Range, so as you get up north of Cantwell, and maybe some isolated showers around Paxson, maybe Nabezna, but a little bit better threat, but still nothing too heavy up in the Tanana Valley areas. About the same pattern back here to the west as you saw today, maybe some light rain or snow, depending on the time of day here along the south coast of the Seward Peninsula. And that kind of comes back into another mass of moisture forming out here to the west. And this front should bring some solid rain up into the southern coast tomorrow, but looking pretty good to the north there, mostly cloudy or mostly sunny with a few clouds still around, lots of low clouds and fog, but again, southwesterly flow developing now. That should push that off the coast, at least by tomorrow afternoon, and out into the Gulf there. Still the smoky conditions continuing in areas, but the kind of a more west-southwest wind should push that up to the northeast a little more, say from just east of Girdwood into Portage, Whittier, and then probably into the Copper River Basin. On Monday, it looks like this system out here in frontal boundary will make a pretty good stride to the northeast, and that should bring rainfall to the southwest coast as early as Monday morning or as late as early Monday afternoon, and then continue in Monday evening. Kodiak Island, look for an increasing cloud kind of day there on Monday, with rainfall possibly reaching the southwest portions during the afternoon hours. Definitely by Monday evening, the rain will be sliding into that area. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies with a few scattered showers around here, mainly along the Alaska Range, but generally a mostly sunny, dry day continuing. Have this front stalled out across the northern interior, so from the Brooks Range north, look for a band of light snow. Otherwise, just some showers, and that'll take the form of rain or snow here across Kotzebue Sound and into the Chukchi Sea areas. But that front over the southern southeast coast tomorrow pulls off to the east tomorrow night. Showers will be diminishing, but still lingering there over the southern areas. And temperatures this afternoon down there, mostly in the mid to upper 50s across all of the Panhandle. It's 52 at Elfin Cove, about the same in Yakutat, with 51 over at Cordova, 61 down at Homer. Kenai just 50 degrees and a 58 in Anchorage. These are all 4 p.m. temperatures. 66 up at Talkeetna. That was the warm spot in the state today. 58 over at Golconda, 59 there at Denali, and 64 at Fairbanks, 64 also at McGrath, and then cooling off pretty dramatically here off to the west into the 40s to the upper 30s along the southwest coast. Even Cape Newenham at 39 degrees. Otherwise, 40s on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula with more sunshine. Chignik up to 57, and lower to mid 30s with the clouds up over the Norton Sound area, Seward Peninsula. 34 at Nome, but up at Buckland on the other side there, right in that area, 10 degrees warmer. 50 degrees at Bettles today, 43 at Atuvik, 37 at Arctic Village, and lower to mid 20s here on the Arctic coast on the east side, a little milder off to the west of Point Lay up to 35, but Cape Lisburne just 31 degrees. Same thing there at Tin City. Out to the west, the Pribilofs, lower 40s, a little bit of sunshine today. Mid 40s over the eastern Aleutians, all the way out to the west. And for the lows tonight, into the teens, North Slope and Arctic coast, maybe as low as 13 there at Barrow. But upper 20s and lower 30s up over the northwest part of the state to 30s here over the southwest areas. But Bristol Bay, upper 30s and lower 40s, about the same in over the interior, mostly in the 40s through this area. Upper 30s to mid 40s for the remainder of the southeast. Tomorrow's highs, mid 20s up along the Arctic coast. East side there, you may push up to 31 degrees at Kaktovik. Otherwise, 30s right up across the North Slope, and then From the Brooks Range southward, looks like mid to upper 50s, 60s again here in this reddish area from Bristol Bay into south central Alaska, the Sitna Valley. And also look pretty nice here over the southeast coast. Looks like 60 to 65 for the most part. Then still kind of cool there around Yakutat. Flying weather IFR along the central and eastern Arctic coast. And I'll probably push a fair ways inland toward the Brooks Range, but tending to improve a little bit back to the west, but an extensive area of IFR here from the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island. And this will be up along the coast and inland a little bit tomorrow morning, then tend to back off as it warms up and the low clouds burn off along with the fog. Not quite as clear out over Bristol Bay, but still a pretty nice day, especially in the afternoon from Dillingham, King Salmon Peninsula. No change at all, but IFR spreading eastward and increasing should show up along the eastern Aleutians by this time tomorrow. Kodiak Island, VFR again. That area of low stuff should push off to the east. Passes, Anatuvik, marginal VFR, but VFR just to the south. And for Adigan, same forecast there, marginal VFR. Could be even lower than that in the northern entrance of both Anatuvik and Adigan, but south VFR. And Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, either approach tomorrow, looking good for rainy as well. Windy, continued VFR. Isabel, VFR. Bentesta, VFR. And Tanita, VFR. Portage, though, look for occasional marginal VFR for low clouds, possible fog, and then that all mixed in with whatever smoke slides up into that area. For Chilcoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, 2,000 feet up here, kind of dropping into the Bering Sea a little bit with 4,000 feet in over the southwest interior and the warmer air over northwest Canada with something of a trough here down off the southeast coast. And 4,000 to 6,000 foot freezing levels over the southern Bering and the Aleutians. Icing threats, the moisture sliding eastward here could be a little bit of icing or the potential for it in the shaded area here from the northwest coast right through there up to the northeast, and then some possible bands of that along the Alaska Range and from say White Mountain on out to Shimia or on out to St. Lawrence Island. Some moisture coming in producing icing possibility here for the eastern Aleutians, spreading up to the Alaska Peninsula and back out to the west. And then with that moisture that's currently moving into the panhandle area of the front, could see some light to isolated moderate rime, maybe mixed icing, but it'll all be on the light side. Wind flow aloft tomorrow, a couple of lows up here over the Arctic. So we've got westerly flow mostly into the interior, central interior back to the north. High pressure today a little bit farther to the west here. That's slowly coming eastward, so that's going to keep it dry for another couple of days here from Bristol Bay on across southern Alaska. This low eventually tracking on down and then eastward, and that should pull the showers or diminish them considerably here over the southeast coast in the south. But this flow back here, this 120 knot wind jet max associated with this upper low, that's all going to be advancing northeastward. And as this high pulls off a little bit there, that'll be replaced with southwest flow. So it looks like the rain we're expecting on the southwest coast Monday into Kodiak Island, that'll just roll right up into south central Alaska by Tuesday morning. And at 9,000 feet for tomorrow, a little brisk here, 45 knot winds through the Tanana Valley in that area, and actually pretty windy here all the way up to the Arctic coast in the 25 to 35 knot range. Lighter though down toward the North Gulf Coast. And then southerlies here over the Bering Sea and southeast Bering, about 25 to 30 knots. 9,000 or 3,000 foot winds, about the same pattern here. High pressure ridge right up through this area. Westerly flow strongest right through the central interior, dropping back to 10 to 20 up along the Arctic coast, but still up to 40 knots there over the eastern interior near or just north of Eagle. And mainly south winds here, 25 to 30 knots. But lighter up over the northern Bering Sea. Pretty light winds at 3,000 feet across the southeast coast. Turbulence-wise, moderate chop there with those stronger winds. We saw both 3,000 and 9,000 feet. So could be a little bumpy here from that 3,000 to 9,000 foot zone with some of that extending back to the southwest. But pretty smooth here for the coast right up through the Bering Strait and back along the north slope. Possibility of a little light turbulence over the southern southeast coast, and also with that front that'll be edging its way eastward and toward the central Aleutians. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
The beauty and tranquility of our rivers provide the setting for numerous outdoor activities, from fishing on a lazy afternoon to facing the thrilling challenge of whitewater rapids. However, we must never underestimate the tremendous force of moving water, which can quickly turn harmless fun into a fight for your life. The hazard of drowning can appear suddenly and in many forms. It occurs in metropolitan areas and in isolated rural locations, such as canyons, arroyos, whitewater locations, caves, and even storm drains. Some of the most popular vacation spots in the western and southwestern United States are canyons. Each year, thousands of campers, hikers, and other outdoor enthusiasts explore the narrow valleys and gorges found in canyons. However, when raging floodwaters roar through these narrow channels, these popular spots can become death traps.
First came the lawn furniture, and then came the live gas tanks off of campers and stuff, and then came the saw logs and the wood piles, and then came the cars and the trucks and the campers, and cars had lights on them and the people in them, and the lights are still on them. There was people in them, and you couldn't even get close to this because of all the debris coming down.
There's no way to help any of them.
No way, no way. And you couldn't even hear them scream, thank God, because the roar was so bad.
A flood is an overflow of water onto normally dry land. Flooding is long-term, lasting for days or weeks. A flash flood is caused by heavy rainfall in a short period of time, generally less than 6 hours. Flash floods can develop quickly when you least expect it. They can form from intense thunderstorms at the upper end of a canyon, sometimes many miles away. Although you may be in the lower end of the canyon, enjoying sunny skies, danger could be racing toward you at that very moment. Flash floods in canyons are so localized and powerful, they carry boulders, rocks, trees, and anything else in their path. People don't just drown in these kinds of flash floods, they are also beaten to death by the moving debris. Visitors to popular spots like Zion National Park and other canyons need to be constantly aware of changing weather conditions to ensure a safe outing. To alert people of current and potential danger, the National Weather Service monitors our current river conditions and issues official flood and flash flood watches and warnings. Keep abreast of current weather conditions before entering and while visiting a canyon. An arroyo is a flat-bottomed, normally dry stream bed forming a channel, usually found in the semi-arid western United States. They can be many miles long. Most often in the summer months, warm, moist tropical air masses produce strong thunderstorms with intense rainfall. Arroyos become hazards when rain falls too quickly to be absorbed by the hardened desert ground and quickly runs through the usually dry channels. When this happens, a dry arroyo can quickly become a raging river. Some people choose to camp in the flat, dry arroyo bed. However, rainwater channeled into an arroyo can come from thunderstorms occurring miles away, leaving campers unaware they are in the direct path of a deadly wall of racing water. Vehicles are especially prone to hidden danger in areas where roads without bridges dip across these normally dry creek beds. Be especially careful when in or near an arroyo, wash, or low water crossing. Never drive through flooded roads or washes. You can lose control of your car in as little as 6 inches of water, and 2 feet of water can carry your car away. In recent years, whitewater rafting has become a popular adventure sport. Riding the swirling waters or navigating around standing waves are exciting ways to enjoy the outdoors. There are dangers associated with fast-moving water, but with a little common sense, rafters and kayakers can enjoy a safe day on the river. Swollen rivers from rain, melting snow, or scheduled dam releases can provide for exciting whitewater rides. Increased river heights produce a faster, more powerful flow. Rafters need to know current river conditions to avoid potential mishaps. Usually, it is the novice adventurer without professional guidance who gets into trouble.
Last weekend, when 3 river rafters went over the edge, sucked into water churning so furiously, it ripped off one of the rafters' life jackets.
It's the pressure, tons and tons of water pushing against a human being. The tons of water usually always win.
There's a lot of big waves. There's also the cold water, hypothermia is a big factor too.
It's good, exciting flow right now. You just gotta run it safely and you shouldn't have any problems.
Depending on weather conditions, water levels vary throughout the year, making certain times better for rafting than others. The character of a river may change depending on the height of the river and shape of the channel.
Welcome back. We'll look for northwest breezes for the most part here out along the northwest or along the coast at about 15 to 20 knots, and more of a 5 to 15 knot wind in over here in across the inside waters. And then for Monday, south or northwesterlies here, just about the entire stretch of the coastline, about 20 knots, and west to northwest 15 knots or so, or 10 to 15 knots. A little bit lighter up here and more westerly up to the north. For the Gulf of Alaska tomorrow, Prince William Sound, variable winds 10 to 20 knots. Southeast at about 15 there for the Barren Islands, but southerlies again 20 to 25 knots, so coming back up after they drop off some tonight for Cook Inlet. Light variable winds there for Kodiak, but again the southwesterly breeze there over Shelikof Strait, that'll probably act to push that cloud deck off the coast sometime tomorrow, hopefully by afternoon, if not earlier. And then that'll continue, 25 knot winds, so small craft advisories here for Shelikof Strait and the east side of Kodiak Island, those marine zones. 15 to 20 knot winds all the way up along the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, and still looking at a south to southwest wind, 20 to 25 or so for Cook Inlet all the way down to Kamishak Bay. Bristol Bay, southwest, light tomorrow. Southwesterlies 15, southwest of Kodiak, up to 20 knots here in the south side of the peninsula. On the north side, much lighter and more southeasterly. And then on Monday, southeast at about 15 here for Bristol Bay. Southwesterlies 15 to 20 knots of the peninsula, strongest on the Pacific side of things. Out in the Aleutians, northeast here, as that low center pulls eastward, so south 20 knots from Amchitka Island. Small craft advisories here for portions of the Aleutians, all areas in that 20 to 25 knot range there. And then for Monday, southwest winds, pretty light here, 10 to 15 over the western Aleutians, kicking up to 20 knots over the far western zones, but southwest 20 to 25 knots here for Medak, Atka, all the way up across the Fox Islands. And for the Bering Sea, southeast 15 for the Pribilofs marine zone, light and variable for St. Matthew Island, and south to southwest 10 to 15 knots here from the southwest coast all the way up across St. Lawrence Island. Outlook for Monday, light winds for St. Lawrence Island, and easterlies to southeast 15 to 20 here along the southwest coast. And the Pribilofs coming down, meaning you might see something a little higher than 15 knots tomorrow night and early on Monday, but Monday afternoon coming down to 15 knots. For the Arctic coast, pretty light winds, all from an easterly direction here for the central and eastern areas, but only 5 to 10 knots. Northeast at about 10 knots, and southwest maybe up to 15 there for the eastern and southeastern Chukchi Sea. Then those will become light and variable here on Monday, and northeast continue at about 15 on the western coast, but very light winds now from basically a northeasterly direction for the remainder of the Arctic coast. And for tonight, got these showers going on over the southern southeast coast. That's going to continue, and then this moisture will kind of overrun that and spread some rain up there tomorrow, but just some clouds up to the north, dry conditions. Showers left over here along the North Gulf Coast, mostly northeast of Cordova, and then scattered up along the Wrangell Mountains and portions of the Tanana Valley. Some light rain and snow showers here, really hit and miss across the north central areas, but they'll be mostly in the form of snow, with a band of light snow here from the Brooks Range up to the eastern Arctic coast, and just a lot of low clouds and fog advancing inland here along the southwest coast. That should spread some marginal VFR at least up to Bethel, probably Russian Mission in those areas as well, and cover most of Norton Sound. That'll extend all the way back. You get into the rain with this front, which will push into the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, definitely Nikolsky, possibly Unalaska. A lot of clouds here with more of a southwest flow across the Alaska Peninsula. Low clouds and fog kind of burning back inland areas, but persisting along the coast. And this area shifting to the east into the Gulf of Alaska. Still some areas of smoke, mostly east of Cook Inlet now, and then these showers up to the north, and then the rain pushing into the southern panhandle. And again, that'll pull out tomorrow night, and just a few lingering showers on Monday. Another fair day, a few isolated showers with the rain coming into the southwest coast, spreading northeastward on Tuesday. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.